ways did they see that their situation has changed? Because it was interesting to have the different perspectives, not only from the scientists, but also from the local people. And that's something that I will carry with me, the stories that they told us.
Right. Crown Prince Håkon, you write in the book, let me quote, "If you want to eradicate extreme poverty in this world, it makes sense to go to the Arctic areas." How is that? What's the connection?
Well, I see tackling climate change as a prerequisite to actually reaching the Millennium Development Goals. Because if you're going to eradicate extreme poverty, you need to have a stable climate where we don't have more floods, more droughts, more hurricanes. And it's really important to understand the connections. And if you go to the Arctic, you really see how the world is interconnected, because a lot of the air pollution comes up there, a lot of the pollution in the oceans come up there. And it's really fascinating to see how we are connected as a human family. And I think it's really important that we also look at the emotional part of climate change, that we see each other as fellow human beings, and that we're all in this together. And that we're going to live together and build together, no matter if we live in Africa, Asia, Europe, or America.
So we should all forego with a good example. That's what you're saying. It's down to each and everyone around here, each and everyone in the street. It's an individual matter how you tackle the climate change conference, Frederick.
I think there's a lot of challenge. I see one way is to educate yourself first, but in our case, with our next generation, educate them in a positive way, saying, okay, you're born into the climate. Our generation are climate immigrants, because in that way that we didn't know much about climate when we were kids. Science hadn't reached a level where it could prove and had enough redundancy in its proofs. So we acquired knowledge in mid-age, so to say. But our kids are born into it, so we might as well educate them in a positive way, give them the ideas of the basic ideas to start with, how to think about sort of everyday needs, like just use of water is very basic. But you can start educating your little kid without it being a punitive sort of way from a grown-up to a kid, and thus becoming a punishment rather than a reward.
Exactly. I was going to ask that. How do you make attention to environmental issues, to climate issues? How do you make it? Don't misunderstand me, but how do you make it a sexy thing instead of being beaten on the back all the time?
Well, I think actually that battling climate change is going to be a lot of fun as well. Like we see here at Bright Green, there's going to be all these fantastic innovations. They're going to become, interesting and fun and cool. And also at the same time, we're working on something that's meaningful, that's important, and that gives us a deep sense of purpose as well at the same time. So it's the best way of the best kind of fun. So I think to look into the future, I think it's a very positive picture that we see, because we're going to have more green jobs, more innovation, and when we buy a product, it's going to be clean. When we hold it in our hands, we know that this did not endanger our planet and our children's existence, and that's a new dimension to welfare.
Sorry, I have the bad habit of interrupting all the time. Crown Princess Victoria, you talk about the personal responsibility, whether you live in castles, some of you do, all of you do actually, whether you live in houses or in flats or in a tent like me. I live in a small tent near the motorway. How can you, very small piece of canvas actually, with a very sick wife and 12 children, but that's another story. I mean, what I was going to ask is, you're all in charge of households which are bigger than sort of the average household. How do you personally interpret the climate cause and the way you live? Crown Prince?
Of course, it's a challenge living in old houses like we all do in that sense.
But with your parents.
But you gotta take the positive things out of it, which we do, and we are in all our respective countries. Our generations are stressing the fact that anything that can be done within limitations should be done. And we have good experience in all our countries since we're in partly subarctic, but at least temperate climates. We have great dependency on heating, and we saw it in the 70s, particularly in Denmark, with the first oil prices really made big changes in our society, and we started innovating and thinking about insulation and alternative energy sources such as wind energy, which is something that we're very proud of in Denmark. And all these things came out of a need for thinking in new ways.
Do you want to add anything to that in terms of how you interpret the climate cause in a personal way of living, Crown Princess Victoria?
Well, of course, my father has been talking about this with climate and environment for at least 30-something years. And in the beginning he felt pretty lonely, and now he feels like no one listens to him because everyone is talking about it. But, you know, but that's sort of made the thing that I've been brought up with this. And that's sort of what Frederick is also saying, that we can actually do so much for our children, bringing it up, but also in a fun way, seeing the whole picture of things. Also as a consumer, we just see a little part, we just see what we're actually getting, and not very much is, you know, it doesn't say very much about the product and how it's actually being produced and where it comes from and so forth. But I do think that there is an interest, and I think people do want to know how things are being produced and what's in it and what the circumstances were and so forth. And in terms of our living, I think we just have to question more and more, ask these questions, so that there is a reason for the companies to put on sort of, for instance, where things have been produced and with what, and the circumstances for the employees and so forth. And I think as grown-ups, we do have a big responsibility, and that's why I can't help being involved, and I can't help being interested, because I'm concerned about what's happening in the future. I'm concerned about what's happening now, and that's why I feel that this is a wonderful opportunity. Also try to spread some awareness, but also say that, okay, if I can understand, and if I get to understand a bit what the scientists say, there's a great chance that others might too. And we just have to do it in a fun way, and a more easy way. It doesn't have to be very complicated. It has to look into the whole picture of things.
Crown Prince Hogan, finally, are you going to remain interested in this? In other words, how are you going to keep this on the agenda? Do you have more explorations planned for the future?
No, we're gonna start planning that maybe now. We don't have anything concrete on the agenda with the three of us, except for Victoria's wedding. Which would be a very climate-friendly wedding, I understand. But I think that we will, all three of us, stay focused on this very important topic, because climate change is something that needs, I think, the energy and everyone's input, and we need everyone to contribute if we're going to tackle this major challenge. But also, at the same time, it's an opportunity for us to find a better future for all of us, and that's something we should embrace, I think, also with a bit of enthusiasm and good hopes.
Okay, you could do like me, start saving on your hair, you don't have to take long showers. Don't have to take showers. But anyway, that's just an advice for the future. I think we should give our three Royal Highnesses a warm hand. Thank you very much.